Hi everyone, welcome back to Law School Gems with Bria. My name is Bria Riley, and today and for the next 2 episodes after this, we are going to be talking about transfer applications. Dum dum dum! I know that's a big topic, and many of you want to know the do's and don'ts around transferring, specifically after your first semester. So we're going to get into it, okay?
We are born to win. Come and learn the basics with Law School Gems.
So, what is a transfer application? Well, it's kind of in the name, right? So it's an application for you to transfer to a different law school, leaving the current law school that you were at. If you choose to transfer law schools, it will be the last law school that you do attend within your law school career, right? Because you can only transfer one time. Now you can go and visit other law schools and be a visiting law student, but your degree will come from one of two places, either the place where you started and where you matriculated throughout law school, or the place that you ended up transferring to. As a result of that, you have to be careful in deciding whether you want to transfer because there are pros and cons in doing either, and we are going to get into that in the third part of transfer applications. But today I want to focus on what your transfer application will likely consist of, and that includes your cover letter, your resume, your writing sample, and a few other items that I'm going to get into today. And I'm also going to get into the specifics of what each of those components should consist of. So a cover letter should speak to your professional experiences, both in law school and beforehand. The experiences you discuss in your cover letter should be ones that the transfer review board for whatever law school to which you are applying cannot glean from your resume. So you want certain things to stand out, and there are ways to emphasize that within your cover letter that'll put you light years ahead of your competition. Here is a general roadmap of what your cover letter should consist of. So you want to start with a header for your cover letter, and that header should match or be consistent with your resume as well. So usually the header looks like your name, your email address, your phone number, your residential address in case they have to send you something by mail, and so on and so forth. I know nowadays it's a little bit safer to just kind of put your city, state, and zip code. You can do that as well. And then you want to bold it, right? You want to highlight it so people can see that information at the top of their cover letter and that it pops out at you. So bold it, emphasize it, underline it, do something that makes that part stand out because you don't want people to forget your name or where you live. Now, in the left corner of your cover letter, you want to insert the name, the address, and the title of the person to whom you are addressing the letter, the way that you would any letter, right? So you're going to put that person's contact information to the left-hand side in the top corner of your cover letter, right underneath your header. And then after that, you're going to begin with your salutation. So usually it's something like dear or to whom, or if you want to be a little bit more conversational, you can spice it up, jazz it up, and look for some other cool ways to introduce your letter. But remember, this is still a formal application, so don't get too jazzy, but definitely address it with a salutation and the last name of the person to whom you are addressing it to show the formality, but also to respect the person to whom the letter is going to. Now, to the right-hand corner, the upper corner of your cover letter, on the same line as you have your contact of the person that you're sending the letter to the right of that, you want to make sure that you include the date. And let me back up because I know I didn't tell you how to go about finding the person's name to whom the letter should be addressed, right? But usually if you go to the webpage for the law school that you are applying, they'll tell you who sits on the review board, the admissions board, or who the dean of admissions is. And that's the person that's likely going to be reviewing your transfer application. So you want to address the letter to them. And if you are confused about that or unsure based upon the information you're reading off the school's webpage, then give them a call and ask them to whom you should address your cover letter for your transfer application. Always be sure that if the person to whom you are addressing the letter has a title as a part of their name, whether it be dean or associate dean or something like that, then you address them as such as opposed to Mr. or Miss. The beginning paragraph of your cover letter should introduce you, the law school that you currently attend, and the year in which you are in your law school journey at that law school, right? So if you're a 1L, you would put I'm a first semester 1L student, or I'm a first year law student applying to transfer to this school. and here's where I currently go to law school. And that's what the first paragraph should consist of. In addition to that, you also want to make sure that you tell them why you were interested in going or transferring to their law school. That should also be a part of your first paragraph of your cover letter, because you want to build that interest right out the gate, and you want to let them know the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and why you're applying to transfer to their law school. Make sure that whatever interest you put down as to why you're applying to that law school as a transfer applicant, that you tie that interest to a theme, because you want to infuse that theme throughout your cover letter and use it to highlight your experiences in your example paragraphs that will soon follow, right? And those experiences are going to be expounded upon using the STAR method. And we'll get to that in a second, but make sure that you are infusing the theme and the overall interest throughout the cover letter to tie it together with a nice pretty bow. Now, to highlight your professional accomplishments that you want to expound upon in your example paragraphs that follow your introduction of your cover letter, you want to use the STAR method. The S stands for situation, which would be an event, project, or challenge that you faced. The T stands for task, which would be the assignment or the responsibilities that you were tasked with in helping to contribute to that project or that challenge or that event. A stands for action, right? What actionable steps did you take in order to fulfill your task or your duties or your responsibilities? And R stands for the result. So what was the overall result or positive outcome that was elicited as a result of your contributions? That is what you call the STAR method, and that is how you want to expound upon all of your accomplishments within each example paragraph that you list within your cover letter, right? And you'll want, like I said, 2 of those to follow after your introduction paragraph. So it'll look like your header, and then to the left upper hand corner, you'll have the name of the person and the address and the title to whom you're addressing the letter, their salutation. To the upper right hand side on the same line, you'll have the date, and then you'll drop down and you'll go to your intro paragraph, and then you'll do your 2 example paragraphs discussing your professional achievements. Each of those will contain the STAR method as I've just listed previously. Now, you want to conclude your cover letter by tying it all together using that theme that I emphasized before, and that's how you bring it home. That's the clincher, that's the selling point for why this review board and the Dean of Admissions for this transfer law school should accept you. Within this same conclusion paragraph, you want to make sure to ask for what you want. So if it's an interview, because some transfer review boards do require that you interview with their law school before they will grant you candidacy or admission into their law school. So if it's an interview, make sure you ask for the interview. Make sure you provide some dates and times in the future in which you would be available for one. And also make sure that if it's not an interview, that you ask to be admitted into their law school. You got to make sure that you ask for what you want and that you advocate for yourself always. And that is how you're going to conclude your cover letter. Finally, end your cover letter with a closing salutation. So sincerely, regards, kindly, then put your name, and after that, you'll want to affix a digital signature as well. And if you don't have a digital signature, then you'll want to print off your cover letter and then sign it and then scan it back in, so that way you can affix it to your digital application. Because most transfer applications these days are digital and you'll be submitting it online. Now, make sure before you send off this cover letter that you've employed the tips and tricks that we've discussed in this video, but also in prior videos with respect to legal writing, right? Like, you want to make sure you're making a good first impression. You want to make sure that you're following the methods that we talked about, that you're catching formatting or organizational errors, that you're looking out for grammar and spelling, and that you're paying attention to detail. Because those little things right there, consistently applied, put you a step above your competition in any regard. And that's how you're going to get that competitive advantage in the event you do want to transfer to another law school and they allow you admission. Next up, as a part of your candidacy materials in the event you were thinking about transferring to another law school, is your resume. You'll want to make sure that your resume also includes a similar or consistent header that you use on your cover letter, right? Because we're all about consistency and formality and form. You'll also want to make sure that your resume is listed in sequential order, starting with the latest experience that you were a part of or that you were affiliated with. And you'll also want to, before you even get to the experience section, start with your education, right? And you'll want to start with the education that you were currently in most recently, which would be your law school education. education. And then from there, you'll want to go into your undergraduate education or any other institutions you attended before going to law school. Then you'll jump into your accolades or your awards or honors, and then finally into your experiences. And if you have any room left over after that, you can put a skill set down at the bottom of your resume. You can also break up the experiential sections of your resume into legal and non-legal if that would be helpful, especially if there are some non-legal experiences that you think would be beneficial or cross-functional or transferable skills that could be applied to a legal experience or to your transfer application as a holistic transfer student, right? And showcasing that to the school in which you are applying. Your professional experiences that you list should include the name of the organization, company, firm, or whatever the case may be that you worked at. You'll also want to put your title while you were there. You'll want to put your geographic location. You'll want to put the tenure or the amount of time that you spent there in that experience. And then you'll want to list key responsibilities and tasks that you were responsible for in pursuing that experience or being a part of that role. Your responsibilities need to sound actionable, right? They need to sound like you are a doer, you are an achiever, as opposed to someone who's just checking boxes. So make sure that your responsibilities listed really do speak to your skill set and that it speaks to you being a valuable contribution to whatever organization you're a part of, because those are the valuable contributions and assets that the law school to which you are applying as a transfer student are going to want to see on your resume. When listing out your education, specifically your law school, you want to make sure that you list the name of the law school that you are currently attending. You want to make sure that you put your GPA, especially if it's above a 3.0 GPA, or if the transfer application requirements ask that you put your GPA. Make sure you follow those instructions. Always read the fine print and make sure you're incorporating everything in your transfer candidacy materials that your transfer law school is asking you to require. Also make sure under law school or your education that you list out any orgs you're a part of, any leadership roles that you have, and that you list the amount of time that you've been at that law school, so that way the transfer law school could know what year you are currently in your law school journey. Now, some of you may be saying, Bria, I don't have my GPA yet from my current law school because I'm still in my first year and I don't have an overall cumulative GPA that the transfer law school is asking for. If you don't have it, then don't put it, because you can't put what you don't have, and you also don't want to put a falsehood on your resume. So make sure that you're sticking with what you can work with within the bounds of the things that you do have available to you and following the instructions set forth by the transfer law school. For your undergraduate institution, you'll also want to list that under your educational section as well. And you'll want to put the geographic location, you'll want to put your GPA if it was over 3.0 especially, and you'll want to put any distinctions or honors in addition to the month and the year in which you graduated and the type of degree that you received. So if you got a Bachelor of Arts, you'll want to put that. If you graduated with honors or distinction, you'll want to put that. If you got a Bachelor of Science, you'll want to put that. So just make sure you're differentiating and that you are listing all of those things underneath your undergraduate institution for the educational section as well. Also, if you are a published or written author of any articles out there, right? Go ahead and list those under awards or publications, or make a certain section for that, so that way you can highlight that as well. But only if it makes you look good. If it's an article that you're proud of and you wrote and you did well and it's grammatically checked and it looks good and it's going to make you look good as a transfer applicant, then make sure that you put that as a part of your resume and your transfer candidacy materials. There's also a proper way to cite an article that you've written or that you've published, and Blue Book or the Allwood Guide to Legal Citation will tell you exactly how to cite that article or that published piece of work before you list it on your resume, because all of those details will be paid close attention to when the Transfer Review Board is reviewing your candidacy materials. Finally, awards and honors. You'll want to make sure that you include all awards that you think will really make you stand out, right? Don't just include the ones that are kind of nominal and in the grand scheme of things won't really contribute or add value to your overall resume. I know I say be proud of and celebrate all those wins, honey, but we want to make sure that we're putting the best candidacy materials forward. So list those awards and honors that came from professional past experiences, from your undergraduate institution, from your current law school institution, and all of the above. And that includes Cali Awards, organizational awards, or employment awards. And y'all, that is all that I have for you today. Next time, we are going to jump into other materials that you will need as a part of your transfer application if you are considering it. And those include your personal statement, your transcript, and a few other materials that we will get into in the next video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. It really helps me to grow this channel. And feel free to like and share this channel with a friend or someone you know who may be in their first semester of law school or in their first year of law school, and they're considering being a transfer applicant, and they want to know what their candidacy materials might look like or how they might go about transferring to another law school. I just wanted to affirm you guys. I hope you're being kind to yourself today, and I hope you are being kind to others, and that you spread that kindness around, because it really does come back to you twofold. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can get reminders when I post more videos like this. And until next time, I will see you guys again. Bye, y'all.